Hello everyone, my name is Pixlriffs and welcome back to the Minecraft Survival Guide. I hope you're all having a good day. This is episode 99 and it's kind of crazy that we're here already, but I'm very excited about this, and I thought we would do something fun, because 99 always a fun number. One before episode 100, we'll probably do a world tour for episode 100, and then episode 101 is going to be something that I've done in the previous season of Survival Guide, where I ask you folks to submit short questions about Minecraft that can be answered in like 1 or 2 sentences. So if you want to leave a bunch of those in the comments of this video, and I'll probably make a community post on my community page as well, I'm going to try and answer 101 quick questions about Minecraft, and hopefully that should be a really good time. But today, we're going to have a good time with something else. I want to explain some of the Easter eggs that occur in Minecraft, and I think today is going to be a really fun day to do that. So, the majority of them require us to get hold of some name tags, most of which I've already got from fishing. I've done a lot of fishing in this world, so I've gathered a lot of name tags already, but you can also find these as dungeon loot in a couple of different chests. You can buy them from librarians as well, if you have a master tier librarian. And so if you want to try out some of these Easter eggs in your own worlds, all it will take is a handful of name tags. We're going to need a name tag for each different mob that we're going to plan an Easter egg for today, but only one of them is not necessarily going to require a specific name for the Easter egg. We just need to make sure that the mob stays in the world and is persistent and isn't going to despawn. The rest of them, however, require name tags to be renamed with some very specific names. First of all, we're going to take half of the name tags I had up there, so we've got 6 different name tags. We're going to split those into 3, and we are going to name half of them Dinnerbone with a capital D, and the other half we are going to name Grum with a capital G and 2 M's. Grum and Dinnerbone are the usernames of 2 of Minecraft's earliest developers. Basically, as soon as Mojang started recruiting more people to join the development team, Dinnerbone and Grum were 2 of those, and I believe they both still work on the game. But the effect that either a Dinnerbone or a Grum name tag will have on a mob is to turn it upside down, and one of the things I wanted to save the mushroom and the sheep here for is some of the Easter eggs we're going to demonstrate today. So we are going to name this mushroom Dinnerbone, and from now on, this is going to be an upside down mushroom. Now, the funny thing about this is it just renders the mob upside down, but the mob's behavior will still be exactly the same. They'll still move their legs when they walk around. They'll still eat the grass if they need to do that, like sheep need to do that to replenish their wool. You can still milk a cow like this. In fact, I would argue that milking a cow is probably easier if the udders are facing upwards, but I don't know, maybe gravity does some of the work there, who knows. And I personally think one of the funniest mobs to do this with is bees. I find bees some of the most delightful mobs to turn upside down. The problem really is making sure that I don't let all of these bees out the farm if I replace one of the glass blocks here with a slab to allow us to actually name tag one of the bees. I think we might be able to give it a try like so. There we go, and let's see if we can name one of these bees Grum. And there we go, flip it upside down. So we now have a Grum bee inside of here, and the bee will still behave exactly the same. It'll still hover at the same height. It will still be able to produce honey and go in and out of the hives perfectly fine. In fact, it looks like some of the redstone back here has gone awry because all of these hives are filled up with honey, and that should have been collected by the glass bottles. I think the system may be full, and so it may be that it has no more glass bottles in order to collect them. Well, we'll have to do something about that in a minute here. But there we go, we can see our little Grum bee in there, kind of getting pushed around by one of the other bees, but that's definitely not a side effect of the name tag. It's just that that bee really wants to get to that flower. And right now, what I really want to do is find a pig. There is one over here. I wonder if there's any a little bit closer, and I'll need to grab a lead for this as well. Yeah, it looks like that little piggy came down from the mountainside after all. We're going to put this one on a lead and bring it back to the house as a permanent feature. We have to remove the door to fit the pig in. Apparently, the pig is a little bit wider than I was expecting. But now, if we go upstairs while the pig is attached to this lead, we need to make sure the pig doesn't follow us up the ladder here, but I'm going to attach the pig to this fence post dangling from the top of the house, and that's going to leave the lead coming through the floor like this, but it's also going to lift the pig up to the height of the ceiling. And you know what happens now? We're going to name it Dinnerbone, and it's going to look like the pig is crawling on the ceiling. Simpsons movie references for the win. Unfortunately, if we name tag the pig anything else, it is going to flip it back over the right way. But in the meantime, we have a spider pig, and that's also kind of a reference to the April Fool's snapshot from this year with 22W13 at 1 block at a time, allowing the player to use a pig to walk on the ceiling. So pretty fun, and we might need to put a trapdoor up there just to make sure that the pig doesn't wander up there in the meantime. There we go. Now the pig should no longer be in danger of getting up here by itself, and that could potentially be dangerous because Unfortunately, when animals on leads are suspended in the air like this, they start to gather momentum from falling the same way that they would with fall damage, and so with each bob up and down, this pig potentially could take more and more fall damage, meaning that if we let it off the lead right now and allow it to collide with the ground, it's probably going to take enough fall damage to die instantly. You might have run into this problem occasionally if you ended up dangling a mob off a ledge, or if you've seen the Wandering Trader drop a llama down somewhere. It can potentially be fatal to the animals if they fall after being dangled on a lead for that long. So probably best that our little piggy stays up here for the foreseeable future, and I think it's kind of funny having a little pig up there on the ceiling of our house. These Dinnerbone and Grum Easter eggs don't just have to apply to passive mobs, though. You can also turn pillagers upside down. You can do all sorts of stuff with other mobs. I think you can even name tag the Wither this way, although I'm not certain if bosses are turned upside down in the same way. I know for a fact that it doesn't work on the Ender Dragon. But honestly, I'm kind of tempted to keep this pillager around now, because he seems to be kind of a talented one. Name tagging a spider this way is always a good time. You ever seen a spider flail its legs in the air like that? And for an even better effect, you can name tag the spider half of a spider jockey, so the skeleton looks like it's riding an upside down spider around. You ever wanted a closer look at a creeper's feet? Nah, me neither, but at least this is one way you can do that. And honestly, I find this even more scary than the regular creeper, so I think it's probably a good thing they don't look like this normally. While it seems a shame to kill these name tag mobs, of course, I don't really have anything in mind for them right now, and we can buy more name tags or fish more of them up, so they're nice and easy to farm. I should be able to get hold of a few more in future. Our next name tag is another very well-known one, and is the sole reason I kept one sheep over here when we did the 16 colors sheep farm way back in the early stages of the series. Basically, this one relies on us name tagging a sheep Jeb underscore, lowercase with an underscore like so. And name tagging a sheep this way will cause it to cycle through all of the different colors slowly like this, which is really quite cool looking. However, the fun part about this is that whatever color you dyed the sheep originally, that's the color of wool you will still get by shearing it. So shearing doesn't become any kind of like timing based thing where if you wanted blue wool you would go now or anything like that. It's always going to be the color of wool that the sheep started out as. And obviously right now, without the wool, it's looking like a plain white sheep. So it's kind of a surprise when the wool grows back and you realize that it's cycling through all of the different colors. And I'm not sure if we're going to move our Jeb sheep somewhere a little bit more permanent, but for now, I think it's going to stay tied up here in front of the house, and we can look at this lovely rainbow sheep every time we step out of our front door. The next name tag is a little bit of an obscure one, and this is not one that most people end up using, probably because most people don't end up working with rabbits all that often. For a start, I'm not sure exactly where the best place is to find rabbits in this world. We're quite a distance from any deserts or any snow plains, but I think there might be a couple of meadow biomes around. Yeah, here we go. There's a meadow up here, and the first thing we need to do is take a look and see if there are any dandelions around, because remember, the first trick to catching rabbits in this game is to make sure you have some of their favorite food so they don't end up hopping around everywhere, and a dandelion or a carrot is going to work out best. In fact, we might be able to do this with golden carrots. Haven't tried that for a while. Let's hold the golden carrots in our offhand and the toast name tag in our main hand, and let's see if there's a rabbit up here that we can name tag. There we go, there's a couple over here hopping around. Let's clear the grass area out so we can see this a little bit better, and toast, there we go. This is a name tag that changes the skin of a rabbit to the rabbit of, I believe, a community member or a friend of one of the developers or something like that from way back in the day. So when rabbits were implemented, I think in 1.8, this was an Easter egg since then, and kind of a cool one, actually. Like, interesting coloration for a rabbit, and you don't find these naturally anywhere in the game. So we can feed this rabbit so that it likes us, and we can go on our merry way. I don't believe that this color will breed if you breed it with another rabbit either, so this is just going to come out like, yeah, there we go, like a generic brown rabbit like the other ones that we're finding here in the meadow biome. But cool to know that that toast bunny is going to be up here for a little while. But here is where the Easter eggs stop getting whimsical and start getting a little more dangerous for the player. These are going to be fun, though. I'm looking forward to doing these. Haven't done these for a while. The next two Easter eggs pertain to specifically some Pillagers, namely the Vindicator and the Evoker. You might find both of these in woodland mansions, but I think the best place to get hold of both of them is going to be by doing another Pillager Raid. And to do that, we're going to actually set up a custom raid environment where we can more easily trap a handful of Pillagers, Evokers, and Vindicators. For one of those, we're going to need the name tag Johnny, spelt with an H, like so, and my anvil just broke. Luckily, I've got a couple of backups in here, and the other one can be name tagged basically whatever we want it to, so I guess we'll call this one No Blue Sheep. and we'll see exactly what that means in a second. We're going to keep these last 2 name tags as backups just in case anything at all happens to either of these two, but I do think we should be able to get hold of a couple of those mobs. Now, we'll need a bunch of rails for this, and it looks like I'm going to have to craft some because I'm not certain where all of my rails are. I think they might be over with the villager breeding setup that I did in the jungle a while ago. So with a bunch of powered rails, a bunch of regular rails, and a handful of other things that we can use, plus a bunch of villager zombie conversion supplies, meet me back over by that pillager outpost that we were at earlier, because I have a plan. So right over here we have a zombie villager who we're going to try and get in a boat, which should be nice and easy to do. Yep, there he goes. We'll need a roof over his head so he doesn't end up burning in the sun, but we're going to try curing this guy so we can set up a custom area to start a pillager raid. So with a splash potion of weakness and a golden apple, we can start that guy curing, and then we'll probably need to go and sleep. We're back, and once we're done curing, this guy is going to form a little village of his own. He's just going to be one villager with a workstation. I brought a composter just so we can convert him easily into a farmer, and that is going to provide us with enough of a village to start a pillager raid out here on the open plains. From there, we're going to set up a bunch of minecart rails around him so that we can have some minecarts going around on tracks, which will hopefully be able to capture some of the mobs we're after, namely 1 evoker and 1 vindicator. I was considering showing a pretty well-known trick in which you can cause pillagers' crossbows to break. They will actually fire the crossbow enough that it breaks, meaning that the pillagers are relatively harmless the rest of the time since they don't tend to melee attack the player. But in the end, I decided against doing that in this video because I think it could merit an entire video all of its own, and that aside, it's not exactly an Easter egg. It's more of an oversight in terms of the pillagers' crossbows having durability, because like skeletons don't break their bows with use, for example, so I think maybe we won't cover that in this video. We'll take a look at that another time. Anyway, this whole trick to capture some of the mobs from a raid is going to work a lot better if we have a large flat area to work with, so I'm going to level a bit more of the terrain out here and we'll get this whole thing set up. Okay, this area now looks flat enough. I'm going to make another little enclosure for our villager. It's just going to be a 2x2 with the corners there so that hopefully none of the mobs who manage to make it to him will be able to attack him through the walls. We'll leave one side of this open so that we can row him on in, although I think if we put a composter in, at this range he should just wander over here. I guess this is going to be the test, is getting him out of the boat and seeing if he wanders in that direction. Looks like he's taken the bait. Alright, perfect. There we go, took a bit of wrangling, but he's in. And now we're going to set up some eccentric looking rails. First of all, I think we'll probably just put a couple of rails around the middle point here, just to make sure that anything that reaches this stage is going to be trapped in a minecart. But around the outside, I kind of want to make sure that there are as many curves as possible, because the minecarts are going to interact more easily with pillagers, evokers, and vindicators' hitboxes if the minecart is turning a corner at the time. And obviously we'll need a couple of levers to power each section of rail here, but this kind of weird clover-shaped thing is probably going to be how we'll trap the majority of the mobs today. So with the rails around this villager all complete and looking a little bit janky and weird, to be quite honest with you, we're going to set down a bunch of minecarts that we can set spinning on these tracks, and hopefully with all of these powered rails around, yeah, the minecarts should have no problems weaving in and out of these little zigzags that we have built for them. We'll put another one in the center here, we'll have these going around, and basically when we start the raid, the mobs should hopefully wander on in and get caught in a minecart here and there. We can also give the minecarts a nudge in the right direction if we need to, and hopefully we'll be able to catch ourselves a Vindicator and an Evoker. The last thing that's left for us to do, of course, is head over to our Pillager outpost, track down a captain with a banner, and start ourselves a Pillager raid over here on the Plains biome. There we go, we got Bad Omen. There was a pillager captain just waiting inside the tower and I sniped him from the roof. Okay, now if we head over to our villager over here, we should start a raid as soon as we get into the proximity of this villager and his composter. Yes, there is our raid boss bar. It begins. I'm going to throw down my ender chest. The poor lad in here is panicking, but he should be totally fine in there. And I'm also going to pop down a bed just in case I run into any issues over here, but hopefully this should go according to plan. The initial waves of pillagers are not going to be a big deal. We do need to survive until wave 5 though, so that we can get hold of an evoker, and I expect if these pillagers end up too close to the minecarts, they're probably going to end up getting caught in the minecart before long. Luckily though, they don't seem all that keen on crossing the rails, so yeah, they end up stopping right there, and that guy couldn't even shoot me from there, so it seems like we shouldn't have too much to worry about until we get to the later waves, where we should end up with a couple of Vindicators spawning. Here comes our next wave, and as predicted, we do have a couple of Vindicators spawning in wave 2. So hopefully we'll end up with a couple of them getting trapped in the minecarts. If the minecarts end up with other occupants, we can always stop them and take care of the pillagers, but probably best to shoot the pillagers before they end up anywhere near it. Here comes a Vindicator. Let's see if he ends up getting trapped in the minecart. Should be nice and easy to pick him up while he's on that bend. Yep, there we go. We've got him. We can probably take the other guy out because he's not needed here for this particular experiment. And so it says there are 2 raiders remaining, one of whom is a Vindicator over here in the minecart. The other one is probably over here somewhere, and I expect they might have fallen down into this ravine. Yep, there's one pillager wandering around at the bottom of there. Let's see if we can snipe him. Perfect. So we're going to stop the Vindicator on one of the bends of this little carousel that we have made for them, and there we go. He is all stopped. Now, of course, because Vindicators don't have any ranged attacks, we're not in any danger from him at this point, and we can redirect the rails into a spot where we can save him somewhere over here. I think the one difficult part is going to be getting him moving again, but if we flick this on, and if I hold up my shield so I can give the minecart a nudge, he's going to break that. There we go, and we can send him off on his way. He's going to stop right over there for now. At this point, the name of the game is going to be getting this Vindicator outside of the radius of where the raid is happening, at which point the game will be tricked into thinking he's been eliminated, and the raid should continue over here by our friend the villager. Now, I'm going to reclaim a couple of the levers from our minecart circuit over here, just so we can get this guy out of the way using the powered rails we've got on us. And where does the raid boss bar disappear? I expect it's going to be somewhere over here near the shoreline. Yes, right over here, basically. I think if we get the Vindicator out over here, he won't count as part of the raid anymore, so we can probably drop him off right here by the river. And for the moment at least, because he is a passenger in a minecart, he should not despawn, but we want to make sure that this Vindicator is going to be preserved for a little while longer, and so we're going to name tag him Johnny, and we'll see what exactly that does in a few minutes' time. Now, hopefully, once he is down here by the river, our good friend Johnny the Vindicator should be technically outside of the radius of the raid. Yeah, and it looks like even here, as the raid bar disappears, it still technically counts as within the boundary of the village. So I'm going to try and get this guy over the other side of the river, at which point, hopefully, that should be far enough. We do need to occasionally check in to make sure the raid is still in progress, because raids can time out if nothing happens for a short enough period of time. So at this point, though, I think this guy should be safe enough to go over the river. Let's see if this does the job. There we go. He's off on his way, and yes, there we go, the next wave of the raid has started. So we can leave that guy over there for now, where he's staring menacingly at a squid holding an axe, and we'll talk about what that means a little bit later. For now, though, we need to head in and defend our villager friend against the attacks of the Ravager. Okay, Ravager down, thank goodness for that. Let's take care of these pillagers and stuff as well. We shouldn't see any other unusual mobs until we get to the next round with the witches, and then eventually the evoker. Gosh, they are loading me up with arrows, and whoa, okay, yeah, the Vindicator went past on his little minecart, and I need to get out of the danger zone here. For the next wave, I'm considering getting my diamond chest plate out here and actually using it for once, because I think while the elytra is helping me get maneuverable, I'm potentially suffering from a little bit of extra damage from not having a chest plate attached. So I'll keep the elytra on me for now, but we just need to reattach this lever to the powered rail, and we should be ready for the next wave. All right, this Vindicator's had enough fun on the carousel. Let's take care of him, and the next wave of the raid can begin. And now, coming from this direction, I can already see a couple of them right there. We should have an evoker or two coming over the hill. Yep, there's one right there, and he's going to absolutely speed around. Hopefully he'll get caught in a minecart. Yes, there we go. Okay, so that's mission accomplished. We have an evoker in a minecart who is potentially going to be a little bit dangerous if he catches sight of me, but in the meantime, we don't need to worry too much about that. We should probably end up taking care of this Ravager first. Okay, so we have a couple of Vindicators and an evoker now in the minecart carousel, and that's what I'm afraid of happening. I do not want the evoker spawning Vexes near me, because Vexes are still a bit of a pain to deal with. So when the evoker is out of range, and it looks like he's paused in casting that spell, I'm going to grab the glass panes from out of here, and we need to work quickly. Oh, no, there are the Vexes. There are the Vexes. Okay, well, let's try and take care of them before we do anything else here. Okay, what we're going to do is jump in here and swap out a couple of the rails going out this way, and then we're going to place a block here, and very quickly some glass panes And along the end of the rail here, we're going to place a few glass panes like that. And then we need to get out of the way of the Vexes once again so that we can take those out. At the very end here, we actually want to have a regular rail separating the powered rail from one piece of unpowered rail. This is a little bit chaotic and I could have been a bit more organized about this, but I think all things considered, it's going surprisingly well. Our next stage is going to be to throw a minecart down here. We'll send that around and hopefully it should nudge those two out of the position that they're currently stuck in, because the two minecarts got connected, and there we go. The evoker has been delivered, although that one glass pane there is making it a little bit hard for him to get in position, so we might need to come through and take that out. In the meantime, we can get rid of the Vindicators at least. We're going to leave that one in the center on patrol for now, but if we take that out, there we go. Fantastic. Now, this evoker, as he is right now, shouldn't be too much of a problem, because as you can see, he's not really messing with me. That glass pane, while he's in the minecart, is perfectly intersecting with his hitbox, and that means that he can't actually see me right now, because the very center of that glass pane is going straight through the center of his head, and that means that in the position that he's in at the moment, he's not going to bother with us. He's not even going to take a look at us, which means that we can stop this Vindicator, we can kill him nice and easily like so, and then we're going to sneak in here, and we are going to break this villager's composter, because technically that destroys the village, and as you can see from the top of the screen, the raid ends in defeat. This evoker is even celebrating the fact that he has won. What he does not realize is that he has lost. So our next steps have to be a little bit careful, because our evoker right here, Mr. No Blue Sheep, is going to be allowed to stay in this minecart and is going to be put in a more permanent box for him. And I want to stylize this box a little bit. I want to make this box look a little bit fancier, and so we're going to color scheme this after the evoker's outfit right here. This kind of black robe they have going on with a bit of gold trim, which we'll represent here with some yellow wool. As you can see, even having removed those two glass panes, this evoker isn't noticing me in the slightest. And then finally, we'll put the light grey wool over the top. We're going to remove that glass pane from his head, and now we have an evoker trapped inside of a box. If I open this up, if I take the wool away, there is a very high chance that this evoker is going to see me, and he's going to start spawning in Vexes, which is not exactly what I wanted right now. But with the wool back in position, the evoker is going to be nice and passive, and this is where we get to demonstrate our final Easter egg of the video. But that's going to require a little bit of setup, so we shall come back to that in a second. In the meantime, let's go over here and check on our friend Johnny. And let's see if we can bring Johnny a friend. Let's see if there is a chicken around. Yep, looks like we got a chicken over here. We got a couple of chickens, actually. Let's see if these two want to be introduced to our new Vindicator friend. Let's guide these chickens over here onto the bridge, and then let's try and swim around Johnny the Vindicator so that the chickens are encouraged to walk towards him. And let's see what happens when they do. He's targeting me right now. He's certainly paying a fair amount of attention to me once I'm in the vicinity, but if we step back a little way, once the chicken has wandered into his radius... Yep, there we go. He attacked the chicken and then the squid, and now he's targeting the other chicken. So see, what Vindicators do when you name tag them Johnny is they decide to attack basically everything else in the game. Normally they're limited to targeting either players or villagers. Johnny Vindicators will go after basically everything, with, I will admit, a couple of notable exceptions. On Java Edition even, Johnny Vindicators won't attack baby villagers, because that does seem a little bit cruel when you think about it. They won't attack other types of illagers like evokers and pillagers, because, let's be real, those are their buddies, and even the Johnny Vindicators aren't going to go that far. In fact, if a Johnny Vindicator ends up joining a naturally spawned pillager patrol, their aggressive behavior extends to the rest of the pillager patrol as well, and the pillagers with crossbows will start firing randomly at other mobs that stray into their vicinity. And to be quite honest, I kind of want to use that as a mechanic at some point, because that sounds awesome. Johnny Vindicators will even attack the Wither if there is a Wither in their vicinity, although I don't think they would last all that long, because the Wither effect is still going to apply to them and the Wither hits pretty hard. Ghasts are the only other major exception, because Ghasts floating around in the nether, they're flying mobs, they're not really going to have a chance of reaching Ghasts in the first place with a melee attack with an axe, so they're going to stay well out of harm's way and ignore the Ghasts. But yes, the Johnny name tag is a reference to Jack Nicholson's character in The Shining, announcing here's Johnny when he breaks down the wall with an axe. We're going to leave this guy here for now. Seeing as he's name tagged, he won't despawn, and we don't need to worry too much about the raid anymore. I think we will have some stuff to do with him in future, but But for now, let's return to our friend the Evoker. To demonstrate the Evoker's true power, we are going to need to make a few fences and bring a few sheep over. We're going to set up a couple of animal pens right here in front of where the Evoker stands. The Wandering Trader has shown up to see this peculiar oddity of an Evoker in a box, but unfortunately, he's not selling the stuff I need. Luckily, though, we have a couple of cornflowers around here because we will need some blue dye. Although, now that I think about it, I don't have any leads over here right now, so might as well grab a couple of those from the Wandering Trader. And let's bring one of these local sheep over. In fact, let's bring a couple of the sheep if we can find them. I'm going to push this sheep slightly further in towards the center here so that the Evoker will see it when we remove that block. And with the 2 blue dye that we got from the cornflowers, we're going to dye these sheep blue. And now I'll need a couple of redstone components because I don't want the Evoker to see me when I do this. We're going to set up a sticky piston facing towards this wall block here so that we can activate it with a lever like so. We'll attach the lever to the back of this yellow wool block and watch what happens to the sheep when I pull the lever. There we go. The Evoker has turned one of the sheep red. In fact, if I open this again after a couple of seconds, he'll do it with the other blue sheep as well. And this is one of the weirdest Easter eggs in the game. But this is related to a game called Age of Empires, a strategy game that's been out since, I think, the very late 90s. And in Age of Empires, the different factions are represented by different colors. So a lot of people are building with the same kind of technology, but they've got different colors to identify whether it's your units or your opponent's units. And one of the units you can get is a priest whose job it is to convert the enemy over to your side. And the idea is that they're turning from blue to red, so they're going from the blue team to the red team. I'll grab one more cornflower right here and I'll actually log my camera account in spectator mode so that you folks can see what's happening from the front, because I don't really want to go around the front of this to show you the Evoker, otherwise he's going to attack me with even more vexes. So here we go. Hello, I'm back here out of harm's way and our 2 sheep are in front of the Evoker's trap here. Now let's see what happens when I pull the lever. There you go. Whichever way he's facing, he recognizes that there's a sheep in the vicinity that needs converting, and he converts it into a red sheep from a blue sheep. Isn't that weird? But that is our 5th and final Easter egg that we're going to cover in this video, but we'll maybe find some uses for this Evoker in future. I can see him potentially having some interesting roles to play. But folks, that is probably where we're going to wrap up this episode of the Survival Guide, so I'm going to return to the house where the Dinnerbone cow and the Jeb sheep should be waiting for me. There they are, my 2 bizarre friends. And folks, I do hope you've enjoyed this look at all of the Easter eggs that we can get here in Survival Minecraft. There are a bunch of other wacky things behind the scenes about this game that are worth looking up on the Minecraft Wiki's article about Easter eggs if you want to know a few more. Plus all of the April Fool's updates and stuff are on there. It's a wild ride. But folks, thank you so much for watching 99 episodes of the Minecraft Survival Guide so far. We'll be back for a world tour with episode 100, and then episode 101, once again, is going to be 101 questions. So once again, leave some comments below with some questions about Minecraft, preferably some that I can answer in just 1 or 2 sentences so we can keep the video short and snappy. Thank you so much for watching this episode. My name has been Pixlriffs. Don't forget to leave a like on this episode if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you folks soon. Take care. Bye for now.